Keir Starmer's decision to return the £6,000 worth of gifts, including tickets to see Taylor Swift. I still don't know who Taylor Swift really is. I've done a little bit of research. I've certainly not listened to any of her songs. I don't listen to music. I like to work for the most part in silence, or maybe with Radio 4 if I can find something which isn't repeated. Or if I'm feeling particularly down, then I switch on a 1950s musical, and that's what plays in the background. And I've got Danny Kaye or Gene Kelly or one of these extraordinary Dolores Gray, who is a particular favourite. And I remember seeing her in Follies in the West End in the Shaftesbury Theatre, which is now about to be vacated by Mrs. Doubtfire. But there you are, swings and roundabouts of the West End. So Taylor Swift, having to pay back Taylor Swift, it sounds a little bit like a pop culture punchline, as a masterclass in optics for politics, rather than so propriety over reality. And hasn't she written a song called "Shake It Off" or something? So this is sort of Keir Starmer's attempt to shake it off. Anyway, the whole affair, first uncovered by the Financial Times, feels like a lesson in low-level corruption, the sort that Anne Applebaum, that's the spectacular journalist, but she's also the wife of Radek Sikorsky, and Anne Applebaum so elegantly warns us about this. She talks about the high-level corruption of Russia, but the low-level stuff. People in the UK are very happy with a biscuit, and Applebaum defines this sort of behaviour as the everyday transgressions that go largely unnoticed, but that slowly corrode the trust between the public and its leaders. And it's not the dramatic scandals that get headlines, but the quiet acceptance of hospitality and luxury, playing tennis, hidden behind the ministerial code fine print and the clerical oversights. And the Starmer-Taylor Swift connection highlights something deeper. The leader of the Labour Party is singing the anthem of clean politics, and yet here he is returning tickets and hospitality worth thousands. 4 tickets to Taylor Swift, that's £2,800 right there. A few hours of pop spectacle and a dose of middle-aged rock star fandom perhaps turned into a political controversy. Add a pair of Doncaster race tickets for £1,939, and then a clothing rental agreement for his wife worth £839, a personal shopper for his wife. It sounds less like the resume of a man of the people and more like a catalogue from a high-end lifestyle magazine. Starmer's attempt to correct course is commendable, but doesn't hide the bigger question Applebaum raises. Why does this low-level corruption exist at all? It's because these small allowances, these gifts, these benefits create an environment where the rules are blurred and luxuries become the coinage of normal life. In the UK, of normal life for the elite, for the people in charge, for the people who are making these decisions about how much money we're allowed if we're a pensioner. In the UK, Applebaum argues that we have not reached the level of Eastern European-style corruption, but surely this is the seedbed of hypocrisy. We're watering this hypocrisy day by day, hour by hour. On the one hand, Starmer talks about equality, but on the other, he's forced to reimburse a concert ticket, while his party considers stripping fuel allowances from pensioners. It's a spectacle of priorities, and it's not a great one. A politician who enjoys a £20,000 accommodation provided by Lord Alley, the Labour donor whose largesse is under parliamentary scrutiny itself, while pledging to hike public school fees, or private school fees, the terminology is sometimes complex, pledging to hike independent school fees, let's go for that, to fund state education, he does find himself caught in the tangle of rhetoric versus reality. Paying for his son's GCSEs, paying for accommodation for his son so that his son can quietly concentrate on his GCSEs, that is the same issue that lies behind either moving your house to an area where your children can fall into a better catchment for a better state school, or it's about paying for independent education. Those three are all packed up together. It's just a different method of using your money to give your child the sort of education which is appropriate. Applebaum would likely point out that it's the very nature of small-scale infractions that keep the wheels of influence turning. £6,000 may not seem like much in Westminster, but it's the same mechanism that eventually leads to bigger scandals. In Starmer's case, returning the money might resolve the immediate issue, but it doesn't change the fact that people in power often benefit from things the rest of the public never see. We're talking about a political elite that have access to free wardrobes, concert tickets, while students face rising fees and they have to make a decision about whether or not they're going to get the textbook or some Brussels sprouts. And pensioners make the same decisions about Brussels sprouts or keeping warm. In this landscape, what are a few Taylor Swift tickets really? They are symbols of so much more. The disconnect between those who govern and those who are governed. The Brussels sprouts of contempt. And finally, I can't resist one last detail. Starmer's penchant for stylish eyewear has also been the subject of some amusement. Perhaps he's paying back those Taylor Swift tickets, not out of guilt, but just to cover the cost of another pair of glasses. Though somehow I doubt his prescription will help him see the optics of this situation more clearly. So here we are, low-level corruption, luxury clothing, Taylor Swift tickets. This isn't just the plot of an amusing scandal. It's the window into how money, influence, and a few choice perks distorts the politics of integrity. Anne Applebaum would just nod and say, "I told you so."